to our tutorial section on Postgres series. Today we'll be looking at the data types in Postgres, and then we'll be going through some of them. So today we have a lot of various data types in the PostgreSQL, which includes Boolean. I might say these ones are the form of data. If you are creating any table for any work that you're doing or whatever that you need to make sure you know the data type and everything from your data analysis point and then specification, and that leads to this form where you specify in each column that you are going to put data there, what sort of data has to go in there. So we have Boolean, which is either true or false. We have character, and within the character there are category of data type that makes the character data type, which is like char, var, char, and then text. We have numeric type such as integer and floating point numbers. We have the temporal types such as date, time, timestamp, and intervals. We have UID for storing universal unique identifiers, and then for arrays, you can store the whole array of numbers or string in a particular column if you specify it as an array. Or we have JSON that stores JSON data in there, and then each store which stores key values pairs. And then we have special data types such as network addresses and geometric data, which is also very important for our study going forward, because most of the applications that we're going to build will be spatially related. So next one, when you look at Boolean data type, as I said, this is true or false. So if you want to insert data into a Boolean column in PostgreSQL, it is either yes or 1 or yes. We can represent yes, either 1, yes, y, t, or true values are converted to true. So any of those columns that you see in this format will be deemed as true in that column. So 0, no, false, f values are also going to be converted to false by default. So the data in this particular column is either true or false. The next one that we look at is the Postgres characters, which also include char, and then the column that we have, the bracket that we have inside, we specify the number of characters that goes there. So char 10 means that only 10 values will go there. Any 11, if you put characters of 11, it will throw an error. So we have char, varchar, and text. And text does not have any number specified in it, so it takes all the full extent of text values in there. So char is when you want a fixed length of character. So if you know of a fixed length of character that you want to use, then you use. And varchar too is also variable length character string. So those ones too, they specify the number of characters that are in there. It's only text that you might not be able to specify in there. So actually it is unlimited length that you can put your data in there. So apart from characters, we have numbers, which include integers and floating points. So we have small int, we have serial numbers, and all of that in it. Serial is very important because every PostgreSQL data table, as you might know in other MySQL and other things, we have what we call auto increment. But in Postgres, you don't have auto increment. We have serial, which is similar to those data type in other data base systems. So there are 3 types of floating point data types, which is float, which tells you to be able to specify the number of precision points after it. Let's say two decimal place or whatever that is in there, and then and then we have num- um, rails or floats, which is also 4 bytes that you can also put values in there. But one of them, the very important type, is the numeric data type. And this is also used normally for my work. I use numeric, which used for money when you don't want the currency value of dollar attached to it by default. So those ones, you use it to specify the number that you want, and then the number of decimals that you also need to do, and then these ones are also used in the system. And then we have the temporal data types, which are dates. If you want to store dates, you want to store time only, you want to store timestamp. So if you take timestamp like this, it automatically means that you are doing both date and time values in there. And then if you want to do timestamp plus the time zone of that particular time, you get all of those interval data in there, and interval to also store short period of time also in there. So basically this all help you to be able to store date and time values in different format in there. The next one we also look at is in Postgres. We also have arrays, which you can store an array also into a database column. And then we have uh, PostgreSQL that also has uh, JSON. JSON is very important going forward. We're going to use JSON in some of our web services that be able to communicate and move JSON from one table onto another, or from web service to our application and back to to our database with web service. So basically the JSON data is going to be used a lot. So but if you want to use process JSON data, functions can help you do that. But if you want to store the databases of also in this particular database, this one is also possible. And then you have UUID, we have already talked about. That is a series of numbers that you can use to actually store, especially when you have creating users and other things that you want to use something else to denote their user IDs. You can use UUID. And then we have very important things for me in particular is the um, geospatial or the geometric data type, where we can store lines, points, polygons, and other things. So this is very, very important for us going forward, because you might want to dive into spatial aspect. So basically this ends our presentation, our tutorials on um, uh, data types. Thank you.